Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for news and views on boxing from around the world. Now today, Joseph Parker. Wanted to talk about him a little bit. He's obviously the WBO World Heavyweight Champion. But Joseph Parker, you'd have to say, has been largely invisible since he picked up the strap in, what was it, December last year. That fight against Andy Ruiz Jr. here in New Zealand. I mean, that was a big deal here at least. Massive build up, super hyped, whole country behind him. He obviously picked up the strap, close encounter, edged Ruiz 7 rounds to 5. I mean, I scored it a draw, but it could have gone either way really. But he got the win. That's all that mattered. And then obviously on to bigger and better things. But he hasn't really had a great 2017. I mean, obviously part of that is not his fault. But even in the build up to the first Huey Fury date, which you must remember, that was actually scheduled for early April, but then it had to be pushed back into May because Fury was jerking around, didn't sign the contract. Then it was set for May 6th, and Fury said he was in the shape of his life. Everything was going well. He was going to get here a month before the fight. Then it was 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden, oh, I've got a back problem. Pulled out of the fight. So Parker and his team, Duco Events, his handlers, they had to obviously scramble, and they got one of his sparring partners, one of Parker's sparring partners, Razvan Kajanu, who'd obviously sparred with Parker quite a number of times, about 100 rounds or so. And fair to say that obviously, while Parker won that fight, didn't do themselves any favours. I mean, I've heard a number of commentators say that actually Parker looked pretty average. And judging by what I saw, I kind of have to agree. But, I mean, the problem is, I mean, a lot of people say this, familiarity breeds contempt. Kajanu, he was very negative, didn't really show anything, had a little bit of flurry in the sort of final round or so. Parker was looking a little bit gassed, but I mean, I think I gave Kajanu maybe the 10th round. But I mean, Parker whipped through him pretty easy, really. But he just didn't look great in doing it. I mean, that's a double-edged sword because obviously his stock goes down. But a number of people who may not have wanted to fight him start popping out of the woodwork. You've got Bellew, you've got others sort of saying, well, actually, I really want to fight him. But since May, I mean, it's kind of been a case of where's Joseph Parker? He has just been nowhere. There's like at the moment, and you can be the judge of this for yourself. Are there many videos about him? Not really. The last couple of months, many videos? Not really. I mean, his social media is pretty, the output is pretty low, pretty poor. I mean, even after it was confirmed that his fight was going to be happening, this follow-up fight with Fury in September, I had a look at his social media and there was nothing. And it was like half an hour later after the first, I think it might have been a Duco page, but I went to the actual official Joseph Parker Facebook page and nothing. And I was like, well, what are his people actually doing? I mean, is this actually half the trouble? I mean, his profile in New Zealand at the moment has dipped hugely. I mean, and that's a problem. I mean, if you're only judged as good as your last fight, well, Parker's got a problem because he didn't look great. And now he's nowhere to be seen, zero presence in social media. He's been popping up, here and there. I mean, I think it was something with the All Blacks the other week, and he's made an appearance for the Pacquiao Horn fight. But beyond that, I mean, there's just no buzz. There's just no buzz. And, that was really apparent just before that Fury fight. It was far different to the Ruiz fight. There was very little hype in comparison. I mean, I would sort of say that maybe Duco had a bit of an inkling of what was going to happen, that maybe they thought, well, Fury may pull out or something might happen here, and they decided to dial back on the sort of hype machine. And I guess for that Ruiz fight as well, maybe the media here in New Zealand got a bit more invested just because obviously Parker was looking to do something no New Zealand-born heavyweight had ever done, which was win a world title, or at least a version of the world title. So, I mean, it's been a bit disappointing as a Parker fan myself to see that actually he's just kind of been nowhere, especially after the last couple of years where he's really ridden a wave of support, which has carried him to the title. He's been fighting, 3, 4 times a year, or I think even, was it 5 times in a year space last year? And he would have had 2 fights this year by the end of September. I know that they did say that they were going to slow him down, but in a way, I wonder if that almost hurts his value fighting less. I mean, he didn't do himself any favors versus Kajanu. But let's look at this next fight. If he doesn't win against Fury, where does he actually go? I mean, Fury's a big guy, awkward. He's actually a very good boxer. He's going to have the reach advantage over Parker. He can fight him at distance. Kajanu, similar height to Fury. So it does make me wonder if Fury's a slicker boxer, what is the game plan? I mean, obviously he wants to, tag him and get him out of there, but he didn't really look convincing against Kajanu. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one and sort of see how he's shaping up. Um, I guess another thing to consider is there's been some well-documented problems with Nduko, his handlers, the team, David Higgins and Dean Lonergan. Their company is going to be splitting. Um, I guess with that and other things, with the Ruiz fight, they said they had a bad camp there as well. There were a couple of disruptions in the lead up to that. So, I mean, I have to wonder how much some of that is factored in. But actually, when you boil it down in that Kajanu fight, it didn't even really look like he rocked him. I mean, I'm sure that he was, hurting him to a degree, but didn't really wobble him. Certainly didn't put him down to the canvas. We'll have to see with Fury. I mean, what is his jaw made of? I mean, because obviously a sparring partner, you want them to be durable because they're going to take rounds and rounds of punishment. And as we saw from Kajanu, very negative, didn't really have any output from the offensive side of things. But I do wonder a little bit because if he does lose, well, he's kind of, it'll take a number of years to come back. I think he's been incredibly lucky with his run to the title because he had a bit of a charmed run, and actually the guy that he fought for the title, Ruiz, well, he was the bigger guy. They're both good boxers, good speed, and it was a close fight, and he just sort of edged it. I mean, had that been in America, it might have gone the other way. I mean, I think a lot of people would argue that. But I mean, should he get through Fury? Well, actually, he has to then fight Wilder, surely. I mean, he's even said as much just in the Horn Pacquiao press conferences the other day where he was interviewed. He basically said, I will be fighting Deontay Wilder next if I win. But that fight, I mean, Wilder must be fancying his chances. I know a lot of people say that Wilder, he's wild, windmill Wilder and whatnot, but he's got power. And, there have been occasions where, you've seen Parker, even though he hasn't hit the canvas, you've seen him, like against Takam. Takam sort of, he looked like he was hurt. Even Parker admitted in a couple of other fights that, I mean, say for Ruiz, for example, he said he felt his power and, he didn't want to show that he was hurt. So, I mean, I have to wonder, I mean, Wilder, I mean, he is a knockout machine. I mean, there is all the criticism about Wilder and his performances in recent years, fighting bums, tomato cans, all that sort of thing. I mean, Molina, Areola, those sorts of guys. I mean, but you'd have to say, I mean, Spilker, he was a good boxer. Washington, reasonable boxer. I mean, obviously they got knocked out in the end, but that is the equalizer, Wilder's power. So, I mean, Parker, Wilder, you'd have to say that Wilder would easily go in as the favourite. I mean, I wouldn't discount Parker to win, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, but will he actually even get through Huey Fury? Huey Fury. But I have to wonder after the Kajanu fight, maybe we have been sold on Parker a bit too much. Was he just looking really, really good against some guys that were actually just plain average? I mean, you look at his record beyond Takam, Ruiz, maybe Dimitrenko. I mean, come on, there's not really a lot there. I mean, there were some impressive performances, but I think if we're saying that Wilder was fighting bums, well, certainly Joseph Parker was fighting bums, no matter what anyone his handlers want to say. A lot of those guys were just, punching bags to be dispatched. But even if you look at the method of how they were dispatched, generally it wasn't one punch power. And this is what got me thinking after Kajanu. It was generally a flurry of punches. He'd put together a really good combination of punches, and it was that accumulation of damage that would end up getting them out of there. So, yeah, I wonder at that very elite level, is his power really carrying out? Because against Kajanu, I mean, it didn't look like he was hurt at all. I mean, I know there's been some doubts about Wilder's chin. I mean, we'll have to see about Fury's. But yeah, maybe Parker just doesn't quite have that zip. I mean, certainly he does not have David Tewell power. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for listening. Boxing Squared out.